Fester's quest perfectly captures the NES era. Ambitious, punishing, and a little weird. Developed by Sunsoft in 1989, the game stars Uncle Fester from the Addams Family as he battles an alien invasion. In this video, I'm going to show you how to speedrun this game. I'll assume you already know the basics of the game. I will focus exclusively on various speedrun strategies and show you all necessary tips on how to get a time below 15 minutes. Item drops in this game aren't random. They follow a specific pattern as illustrated in this chart. Each gun level has its own slot, represented by each column in the chart. The drop chart resets to the first row and moves to a higher slot when you pick up a gun up, or a lower slot when you pick up a gun down. If you have the whip equipped and obtain a whip up or a whip down, the table also resets to row 1 but stays within the same slot. Defeating an enemy doesn't guarantee a drop, but when one occurs, the item will be the next in the sequence. When you exceed row 16, the table also loops back to row 1 in the same slot. In our speedrun, we'll use a speedrun strategy we will call L3. This means we need to be at level 3 of our gun and need to pick up a key and 2 guns each time, an up and a down, every time we farm for keys. This way, we stay on level 3 of our gun and always have a key at row 6 of slot 3 in our chart. When we miss the gun down in row 10 of slot 3, because we picked up the previous gun up too soon, we always have gun down in row 4 of slot 4. The random aspect of farming in this game is what makes most speedruns a little unpredictable and challenging. The best speedruns are achieved with a little luck when farming for keys, as you will find out. Most enemies spawn above or to the right of Fester as he moves through the game. This means we can reduce enemy spawns by hugging a wall that's above or to the right of Uncle Fester. This technique is applied consistently throughout the speedrun and requires memorizing places where enemies will appear. When hugging the top or right walls, no enemies will spawn. Walking along the left or bottom side of a path will cause those enemies to reappear. Rats in this game mostly move alongside the walls. In most cases, walking in the middle of a path will completely avoid them, so that's what I will be doing during most of the speedrun when encountering those rats. Be sure to briefly pause or react whenever a rat strays from its path to avoid being hit. We'll completely avoid shooting fly heads in this run as we don't have vice grips to heal us if a fly stuns us. Later in the game, there's potentially one fly head we need to kill to progress, but that's the only exception. We will also avoid larva heads by simply passing them. This can be easily done by approaching them closely, then quickly moving around them to dodge them. We'll use slimes to farm for items throughout the game. A solid strategy is to farm a slime until you've obtained a key, a gun up, and a gun down during each farm cycle. To avoid frogs, it's important to anticipate their behavior. Green and pink frogs jump 3 times, then pause for 1 game cycle. Red frogs tend to hop randomly within the same area. Blue frogs, however, keep jumping toward you relentlessly, so stay alert. Red and blue frogs are easy to kill, while pink and green frogs can take a few more hits. These creatures are called langoliers, and they can dig underground to reach you from almost anywhere. Hugging a wall will not work. If they spot you, they'll come after you. In our speedrun, we'll encounter a couple of these enemies, but we can easily kill them at close range with our weapon at level 3 or 4. Sometimes too many of them spawn at once, so we may need to use our invisibility potion to escape from them. These enemies, called gremlins, aren't as irritating as most other enemies in the game, so you don't need to worry about them too much. The main issue is that whenever you try to attack them, they jump. If you keep attacking, they'll eventually land on your shot or whip and take damage. The good thing is that whenever they take damage, they run away. The best way to deal with them is to keep firing your gun, even if you're not aiming directly at them, to force them to jump and slow them down. If everything goes according to plan, we won't encounter any scorpions during our run, except for the one we'll use for our whip skips. If you do run into one by accident, you'll need to use your invisibility potion to escape it and walk right through it. In the UFO part of the run, we'll encounter slow, bouncing enemies called ICUs. You don't need to worry too much about them. You can easily walk underneath them when they bounce up or simply walk around them. Just don't attack them because they'll chase you and fight back. You'll encounter spinies in the UFO section of the game. They're the UFO variant of slimes from the outside world. They appear as small, slow-moving green blobs with spikes. Whip them, shoot them, or just walk around them. They're slow, so you don't need to worry about them much. When we encounter orb mounds in the UFO section of the game, we need to lock and load. When we encounter enemies called the Beholders, we stand little chance, so the best strategy is to use an invisibility potion, quickly switch to missiles, and shoot them into oblivion. Claw aliens will pose no threat to us. They spawn a mile away and are too slow to follow us, so there's nothing to worry about. In this part of the video, I'll quickly demonstrate the route to follow in each building. This section is intended as a reference, so you can skip it if you like. On the left, you'll see a chart showing which directions to follow in each hospital. Use this chart to practice navigating the buildings until you know them by heart. Building 1. Building 2. Building 3. Building 4. Building 5. Building 6. The key skip is one of the most important tricks in the entire speedrun, and once you understand why it works, it becomes very easy to execute consistently. Every boss room in this game is actually mapped to the same location on the world map, the top left corner. That corner happens to be the House of Thing, the location where you normally pick up the invisible potion. The game doesn't load a separate boss arena. It simply places the boss fight on top of that existing map tile. This means that if you use a key while standing at the right position inside a boss room, the game thinks you're using it at the House of Thing on the world map. And since a key used at that location triggers a door interaction, the game registers it as completing the objective and lets you leave without ever fighting the boss. For the final boss, you must enter the door from below. If you enter from the top, the game could soft lock and you'll have to reset. So approach the final boss door from underneath and enter with a key. Before we start the run itself, let's cover how this game is speedrun, because your category choice completely changes your strategy. Fester's Quest speedruns are divided into 3 category layers. The first category decides whether you use a turbo controller. No turbo is the original and most popular category and arguably the hardest. You must mash the fire button manually, which demands effort and consistency for the entire run. Turbo was added later. It's faster and less physically demanding, but it has its own competitive scene. Second category is region, PAL or NTSC. This matters a lot. NTSC runs at 60 frames per second while PAL runs at 50, so NTSC is faster in real time. PAL, however, has major mechanical advantages: higher gun damage at every gun level. At gun level 1, NTSC deals 1 damage while PAL deals 4. At level 8, NTSC caps at 4 damage per shot while PAL reaches 8. Bullets pass through walls. This enables unique strategies. There is a 4th region variant, the NTSC to PAL conversion. This ROM hack applies PAL mechanics to NTSC speed. In other words, it runs at 60 frames per second but plays like PAL. It has its own leaderboard. As a side note, let me quickly demonstrate a bug in the money system in the ROM hack. If you buy a hot dog while you have less than $10, then pick up another money item, your money will max out. The third category is the run type. Any percent is the fastest category. You use every available trick. The boss skips and the whip skips. Glitchless removes those tricks. No key glitch, no whip skips, no out of bounds movement. You fight every boss and clear each area as intended. Nooseless sits between the two. You can still use the key glitch in most skips, but you never collect the noose. In our run, I'll demonstrate any percent and Nooseless. Here, you can see the differences between PAL and NTSC. Fester moves noticeably faster in the NTSC version. In the PAL version, it only takes 2 shots to kill a spore. Here, you can see Fester shooting through the bushes in the PAL version. So, to summarize, choose your region, decide on turbo or no turbo, and pick your run type. Each combination has its own leaderboard and offers a genuinely different experience. Throughout the game, there are various places where we can skip large sections by using a whip skip. For this to work, we need to get stuck against a boundary, such as a staircase or a wall. We can do this by entering a house or using the noose while walking toward that boundary. Once we're stuck, we can initiate the skip by using the whip. This takes us out of bounds and transports us to a completely different location where we also can walk around. When we open the game menu and then exit the menu again, the game places us back within the normal bounds, but at a different location. The first location where we can use the whip skip is Morticia's house. This happens after we obtain the whip at that same house. By walking left toward the staircase while entering and exiting Morticia's house, we get stuck in the staircase. As you can see, Fester moves 1 pixel farther into the staircase after each exit from Morticia's house. If we use the whip now, we'll go out of bounds. From this point on, we have 2 options. Option 1, walk left and finish the game without the noose by using the latest Nooseless whip skip strategy. I'll come back to this strategy in a moment. Option 2, enter and exit the menu to get transported to the bottom of the world map. From there, we again have 2 options, depending on the scorpion's position when we perform the whip skip. I'll place the 2 screens with guiding lines side by side so you can see where Fester ends up, at the bottom of the world map. If we land between these 2 lines, we can follow a specific path that takes us into Building 6, where the final mini-boss is. First, walk right until you are directly beneath the entrance of the rightmost sewer. Then walk down until you hit an invisible wall, right at the sewer entrance. Now walk left until you hit another invisible wall. Walk slightly downward. Then while walking right, start mashing the key button to enter Building 6. We are now very close to the UFO entrance. Only one more sewer to go. That was the old Nooseless whip skip strategy. If we choose not to transport ourselves to the bottom of the world map, we can start the newly discovered Nooseless strategy from here. Just start walking left. This new skip has the advantage that we need to enter an invisible, out-of-bounds door, where we get the missiles. That makes the Nooseless UFO section much easier. When you reach the leftmost bushes, walk down, then a little left, then down again. Here you can use the key to enter Thing's house to get the missiles. When we exit, this triggers another out-of-bounds up movement. When you come to a stop, use your whip again to continue moving upwards. Walk a little to the right, then enter and exit the menu to pop back into normal bounds at the UFO entrance. If we want to finish the game in the any % category, we need to perform the whip skip when the scorpion is at its farthest point to the left, past this line. We've now made it out of the bushes at the bottom of the world map and can enter the sewer entrance to continue along the path to Mama's house, where we can collect the noose. If you decide to do an any % run and you've collected the noose at Mama's house, there are 2 places where you can perform a whip skip at the family house. Both skips place you outside of the UFO entrance. The first one is at the bottom left corner of the house. Position Fester so his feet are 1 or 2 pixels below the bottom bushes. Face right, then walk into the house while using the noose. Then try to walk downward. If you are stuck, you can initiate the whip skip. After you entered and exited the menu, you'll be transported to the UFO. The second one is at the absolute top left corner of the house. Face right, then walk into the house while using the noose. Then whip to the right to trigger the skip. You may have to whip a couple of times. After you have toggled the menu screen, you'll also be transported to the UFO. In the UFO section of the game, there are 5 locations where we can perform a whip skip. The first location is at the top left corner of the area where you enter the UFO. This skip takes you to the other side of the wall, skipping a large part of the walk. Walk to the corner of the room, face left, and use the noose. While using the noose, face up, and as soon as the noose screen disappears, start whipping upward. This setup is a little tricky, so you may need to whip multiple times while holding up. Eventually, you'll end up on the other side of the wall. The second location is a little farther down the path to the left. This is an older strat, but I'll show it anyway. You'll be transported to where the red arrow is. Walk to the top left corner of the open area and summon the noose while facing left. When the noose screen ends, face down and perform the whip skip. Any out-of-bounds movement here doesn't matter much. Just enter and exit the game menu to be transported. A little farther down the path, we can do a third whip skip that takes us directly to the boss fight. As soon as the new screen disappears, you need to whip left. If you whip down, you get soft-locked outside the UFO. Whip left here and be ready to perform the final key skip on the boss, instead of the old second whip skip. There is another location where you can perform one, right outside the entrance room after the first skip. This skip transports you nearly to the end of the game. Line up as shown in the video, and summon the noose to get stuck in the wall. Then perform a left whip skip. After toggling the menu, you'll be transported. From there, you can execute the final whip skip at the top left corner of the path you're on. This will transport you right outside the boss room. In this part of the video, I'll give you a high-level overview of the route and highlight key points of interest. I'll also show enemy positions throughout the game. Keep in mind that enemy spawns are partly random, and many of the enemies shown here will be despawned by default. We begin our run by farming spores at the start of the game. We collect a key and ideally reach gun level 3 before entering the sewer. Remember to hug the rightmost walls to prevent enemies from spawning. Hug the bushes on the right side in the passage next to the house. A blue frog would otherwise spawn and block your path. Normally, we enter the sewer without a light bulb, so I'll show you the path with the lights on. If you follow this route, you should be able to reach the bridge just ahead, where we pick up a light bulb without any trouble. Our first enemy encounter after the rats can be either a slime or a larva head. If it's a larva head, you can simply dodge it. If it's a slime, you can farm it if you want. It all depends on the farming strategy you want to use. Here I'll show you 3 possible scenarios with 3 different enemy spawns up ahead. Most of the time, if you stay at the bottom, along this wall, you can avoid getting hit by either frog, whether it's green or red. Just remember to stay on the right side of this corridor to prevent any frogs from spawning and keep a clear path to the bridge. At this intersection, the path you choose will either prevent the next slime from spawning or allow it to spawn. Kill this blue frog before continuing along your route. To prevent rats from spawning, hug the sewer pipe at the top. Immediately after exiting the sewer, turn right. This gives you room to maneuver around the frogs you'll encounter. I'll show you 4 scenarios for getting past any frogs you might face here. Starting by turning right will cover most situations. On our way to the second sewer entrance, we may encounter a fly head. Depending on your gun level, 3 or 4, you'll need to handle it differently. At gun level 3, there's a 1 pixel spot where you can position Fester to fire cleanly through the passage. At gun level 4, you need to start shooting the fly head from close range, then retreat quickly to deal with the flies it spawns. Immediately after entering the sewer, you have different options, again depending on your gun level. If you're at gun level 3, the blue frogs don't pose much danger. At gun level 4, you can either find the 1 pixel spot to shoot cleanly through the hallway, or despawn them altogether by hugging the top wall. Take the upper path to prevent Langoliers from following you through the walls here. Depending on your farming strategy, this is the last sewer where you can farm slimes for keys before reaching Morticia's house, where we'll need them to perform the scorpion whip skips. Move up along the right side of this wall, otherwise, too many Langoliers will block your path. Langolier may spawn here, or it may not. Correction to the previous farming spot. Depending on whether you hug the top wall here, you may spawn another slime just before the entrance to Morticia's house. This is where we perform an any percent skip. It's a good idea to save your game here so you can practice from the split between the Nooseless and the any percent run. After performing the skip, we can farm for any missing keys in this sewer. Keep in mind that the next sewer may contain the last slime available for key farming. Depending on whether you hug the top wall here, you may spawn the last slime just before the path to Mama's house where we get the noose. Next, we need to round the corner through a group of Langoliers. If one spawns on this path, you're better off shooting it so you can activate your invisibility potion a little later, which helps you reach the sewer exit while still protected. Cut the corners here to make the Langolier move under the wall and slow it down. This way, you'll only need to activate your invisibility potion where it really matters, in the large hallway ahead. Also, remember to stay along the right side of this corridor. We're now in the final stretch, getting the noose and performing our second skip at the family house to reach the UFO in the any percent run. However, in the UFO part, I'll show you the Nooseless route so we cover every part of the game. If you still need a key, you can farm a Spiny when they appear on the map. To make them spawn, stop hugging the wall. Take the lower path here, otherwise a bit farther ahead you'll spawn an orb mound. Just walk underneath the ICUs. Follow the upper path to spawn as few beholders as possible. They're tough enemies and usually require an invisibility potion and a few missiles. Here, you can simply walk underneath the ICUs. Be careful, the last one might suddenly turn into a frog. I think you get the idea now. Memorize the enemy placements, and whenever you want fewer enemies to spawn, walk against the upper or right walls to despawn them. Let's get into the run itself. I'll be playing on NTSC with turbo enabled. I'll start with a full any % run, while showing the Nooseless run in a smaller window beside it. After that, I'll show the second half of the Nooseless route, specifically the UFO section, so you can see how that part of the game looks without the new shortcut. The first half of a Nooseless run follows essentially the same path as any %, so there's no need to repeat it. You should practice Fester's fast flicker movement to adjust his path slightly. This will be useful during the run for quick, small adjustments. If you don't reach gun level 3 at this stage, you can still continue the run. You'll get it very soon in the sewer anyway. Got it. You can tell whether this first encounter is a slime or a larva head by its speed. A larva head moves slower than a slime. Keep walking here without stopping. Most of the time, this frog will miss you, and you can continue up the path ahead. Don't forget to stay on the right side of the path to avoid enemy spawns. Here, you'll need to fire your gun to kill the blue frogs and collect a light bulb, which you can activate immediately. We farmed our first slime for a key, a gun upgrade, and a gun downgrade. Here, you can choose which direction to take depending on whether you want the next slime to spawn. If you took the shortcut, this slime will not spawn. Remember to walk as close as possible to the top wall of this sewer pipe to prevent rats from spawning. Here, I made a mistake by not hugging the wall, which caused this red frog to appear. mistake by whipping up instead of left. Instead of being transported to the entrance of the final boss fight, I now need to walk to the backup skip, which brings me directly into the boss fight. This second section covers the UFO stage as it plays out in a Nooseless run. Because the noose was never picked up, we can't use it to skip the large sections of the spaceship that any percent runners bypass. Instead, we have to navigate the full interior of the UFO. I'll walk through the complete route here so you know exactly where to go and what to expect, starting from the whip skip at Morticia's house. On a side note, the any percent scorpion skip doesn't happen very often. It often requires more than 3 keys to get the scorpion to leave the screen on the left side. If that happens and you're low on keys, you can always switch to a Nooseless run, as long as you have at least 1 key left, which is required to enter Thing's house for the missiles. After that, you can farm a Spiny in the UFO section to acquire the last key for the boss skip. Here, I made a mistake by not hugging the top wall, which caused this beholder to appear. That's it. I genuinely enjoyed making this tutorial, and I hope you enjoyed this video and are now ready to speedrun Fester's quest. There are probably still a few undiscovered skips in Fester's quest for you to find, and maybe even use to break this speedrun's world record. Spiky out.